Ukraine's anti-corruption fight nearly collapsed last week. Then came the protests, the pressure, and a rare reversal. Parliament voted to restore independence to its top graft-fighting agencies, just days after stripping them of power. Zelensky says it's fixed. But critics warn, one good vote doesn't erase the damage. Ukraine's parliament delivered a stunning reversal on July 31st, passing legislation that restores independence to the country's two principal anti-corruption bodies. The vote came exactly 1 week after President Volodymyr Zelensky signed controversial legislation that had effectively stripped these agencies of their autonomy, triggering the largest protests since Russia's full-scale invasion began. In an unprecedented move, 331 lawmakers approved the new bill in 2 back-to-back readings, with the parliamentary session broadcast live. When news of the vote broke, cheers erupted among crowds gathered in a park near Parliament, marking the culmination of days of demonstrations by predominantly young Ukrainians. After Parliament's vote, Zelensky moved quickly to complete the legislative process, signing the bill immediately.
The law guarantees the absence of any external influences or any interference. It guarantees this through lie detector tests and regular checks for all those law enforcement officers who have access to state secrets or who have relatives in Russia. It is very important that the state listens to public opinion. It hears its citizens. Ukraine is a democracy, absolutely no doubt.
Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha immediately took to social media declaring,
President Zelensky's bill, ensuring the independence of anti-corruption infrastructure, has just been approved in the Ukrainian parliament. Overwhelming constitutional majority, 331 votes for. President demonstrated a principled approach. Ukraine is committed to reforms and the fight against corruption on our path to the EU and NATO. We got it fixed.
The European Union's Enlargement Commissioner, Marta Kos, welcomed the parliamentary action, stating,
The Rada corrected last week's damaging vote undermining NABU's and SAPO's independence. Today's law restores key safeguards, but challenges remain. The EU supports citizens' demands for reform.
The crisis began on July 22nd when Zelensky signed legislation that placed the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office under the authority of the Prosecutor General. This move granted sweeping powers to issue binding instructions to these agencies, reassign cases, and even delegate their authority to other prosecutors. The timing proved particularly damaging given the agency's recent activities. NABU had charged 42 lawmakers since 2022, including members of Zelensky's Servant of the People Party, and had accused Deputy Prime Minister Oleksiy Chernyshov, described as Zelensky's closest ally and lifelong friend, of taking kickbacks worth $346,000. Zelensky defended the controversial law by claiming the agencies needed to get rid of Russian influence, following the arrest of 2 NABU staffers suspected of working for Russian intelligence. However, critics saw this as a betrayal from a leader who had campaigned on an anti-corruption platform in 2019. Lawmaker Dmytro Kostyuk from Zelensky's parliamentary group revealed the internal pressure surrounding the vote, stating,
There are many questions about the work of NABU and SAPO, but it was the creation of an anti-corruption infrastructure that was the main result of the Euromaidan revolution.
Kostyuk announced he was leaving Zelensky's parliamentary group in protest, claiming colleagues were pressured to vote for the controversial bill. The protests that followed were remarkable for their spontaneous organization and youthful leadership. Zenaida Averina, a 23-year-old green energy consultant who emerged as a key organizer, started with a small Telegram group that quickly swelled to 3,000 members. Many protesters were in their early 20s, children during the 2014 revolution who saw themselves as defending that uprising's legacy of justice. Opposition lawmaker Yaroslav Yurchyshin captured the broader significance, telling reporters,
Today's vote is only the first step toward restoring the public's trust in the government. Public trust in the government would be strengthened by bringing top corruption cases to court and ending pressure on the media and civil society activists. We need unity to defeat Russia. But there can be no true unity between society and the government if the government focuses on closed-door deals instead of defending the public interest.
The international response was swift and severe. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and other European leaders pressured Zelensky about the importance of anti-corruption infrastructure, a key condition for Ukraine's EU accession efforts. The European Union announced it would withhold 1.5 billion euros from a 4.5 billion euro fund, with disbursement dependent on achieving good governance standards. This financial pressure carried particular weight given Ukraine's dependence on foreign aid. The EU and its member states have provided $180 billion in economic, military and humanitarian assistance since Russia's invasion began in 2022. Tetiana Shevchuk from the Anti-Corruption Action Center offered insight into Zelensky's motivations, explaining,
Zelensky is afraid of NABU as the only law enforcement agency that won't open or close an investigation following a phone call from his administration. NABU is the only body that doesn't do that.
The corruption problem extends beyond peacetime concerns. Lieutenant General Ihor Romanenko, former deputy head of Ukraine's general staff, highlighted the war's impact.
On one side, there are people spilling blood, and corruption remains high and even gets higher in certain areas, and people find it inadmissible.
Serviceman Alexei, who enlisted in 2022 and participated in the protests while on leave, expressed the frustration of those fighting on the front lines.
What's the point if I go back home and my family is surrounded by corruption everywhere? Judges, officials, even school teachers all say, "Give, give, give."
Following the backlash, Zelensky acknowledged the public outcry in his evening address.
Of course, everyone has heard what people are saying these days, what people are saying on social media, to each other on the streets. It's not all in vain. We have analyzed all the concerns, all the aspects of what should be changed and what should be enforced. And the most important thing remains not to lose the unity of the country, to end this war, to stop this Russian evil, and to provide Ukraine with a fair peace.
The rapid reversal demonstrates the power of civil society in wartime Ukraine and the delicate balance Zelensky must maintain between consolidating power for the war effort and preserving the democratic institutions that define Ukraine's European aspirations.